I don't know if I can properly tell you how much I am geeking out right now. One of my all-time favorite cult classic movies, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, was filmed here in Watsonville, California. I only wish that our friend John Massari or even the Kyoto brothers could be with us today for this. Sadly, they're not. Oh man, I've been wanting to visit this place for a very long time. Looking at the sign, I really wish that we could cover up the word Watsonville and put Crescent Cove, because that was the fictional town where Killer Klowns from Outer Space took place. I see Jessica over there looking extra creepy. Hold on a second. What are you doing over here, baby ghoul?
I'm a circus hit.
Wherever I come, bad luck just comes my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
Our plan today is basically roam all around Watsonville trying to line up different shots. Most of the movie was filmed here, but there were some scenes that were filmed in Santa Cruz, as well as down in Van Nuys and other parts of Los Angeles. We're gonna try to hit up as many as we possibly can. Believe it or not, finding the filming locations for this video is actually quite hard. Oh man, this is blowing my mind. This is it, the very first shot you see in Killer Klowns from Outer Space. After the credits roll, the camera pans down to this building right here, Big Top Burger. So much has changed, but the building is still the same. Right here where this sign is, this is where the Big Top Burger sign would have been. And I know there's a plastic awning or a vinyl awning here right now, but if we come over this way, you can still see the building. How cool is that, right? Man. And then right above it, that's where they would have had the circus lights that kind of made it look like a circus tent. I really wish that it was still a burger joint. I mean, it doesn't have to be Big Top Burgers, but how cool would it be to eat a burger here at the Killer Klowns from Outer Space filming location? It doesn't look like it's been a restaurant, an active restaurant in a long time, but there is a taco truck company that works out of the building. Man, this is just blowing my mind. Absolutely just blowing my mind. All right, so if we try to line up shots by doing this, that sign that's over on the left-hand side at the edge of the grass, that is where the Big Top Burger sign would have been. And right here where this stone picnic table is, this is where the clown would have been sitting when he was trying to lure the little girl out of the restaurant. She would have been over here. And if we come around this way, you can see those two windows and that door as the clown is standing outside of this door with the mallet behind him, trying to lure her outside. She starts walking that way, opens the door, and then her mom saves her in the nick of time. Wild. It's such a creepy scene. I can't believe I'm standing here. I absolutely love Killer Klowns from Outer Space. It is one of my all-time favorite movies, and to be honest, there's one scene in the movie that terrified me so much as a kid that I was even afraid to take out the trash. If you're familiar with the movie, you know the exact scene I'm talking about, where one of the workers at Big Top Burger takes the trash out and he hears something moving going on inside the trash can. So he goes over to check it out and he ends up getting sucked into the trash can. Trying to line up shots, I don't think it was here. If anything, the only part of this building that I could possibly remotely see being used for that scene would have been right here, but the walls don't match up. Not at all. Honestly, it really wouldn't surprise me if the Kyoto brothers actually built that set where the Big Top Burger employee gets pulled into the trash can. It terrified me. And like I said, I was hoping that it was still going to be here, or that it was here, that it was filmed here, but I don't think it was. Sadly, magic of Hollywood. Right now I'm standing on the corner of Westlake Avenue and Main Street here in Watsonville. And what's really cool is further down this road is where the filming location for Big Top Burgers is. In this scene, Officer Mooney drives a squad car right down here, and we see that Goodwill across the intersection. He stops right there as he sees Bob McGreedy, I think his name is, the guy with the glasses. You see them later on. He's crossing the intersection and he's drinking beer. There's a scene in the movie where the killer clowns are walking down Main Street, and one of them stops and pauses in front of a drugstore, and he pretends to be a mechanical clown. And then there's another scene where the clowns are actually inside the drugstore causing a ruckus and making a mess. A lot of people think that it was here at this place called the El Dorado Fashions, that the storefront was on Main Street. Well, back in 1989, there was a big earthquake that pretty much decimated this area. This was not that location. It really wasn't. We talked to some of the different locals that have been here, and they pointed out exactly where the drugstore, the entrance to the drugstore would have been. And it's around the corner. So we talked to one of the business owners, and he told us that right here, pretty much right where this motorcycle is and all these shrubs, shrubberies, plants, whatever you want to call it, this is where the drugstore from Killer Klowns once stood.
So in the video, there's very, very little you can make out from around that scene. There's a blip of a second where you can make out this structure of concrete next to the window, which in the scene actually would have been opposite me here where the building crashed. So if you look at the building here where they did create the parking lot, you can see where it did connect to the other side. And this just happened to be the building that had most damage. It fell into a crumble, and instead of repairing it, they just cleaned up the mess and left it as a parking lot.
Jessica got adventurous and went into one of the businesses and talked to one of the guys that was living here back in the 80s when the drugstore was actually still standing, and he brought us back here and he pointed out, now if you look very closely at the wall to that building that's in front of you, you can see where the buildings would have connected. Pretty wild. Also standing here where the pharmacy used to be, does this alleyway look familiar at all? At one point the Terenzi brothers come out of that alleyway with their ice cream truck.
What about the girls? Forget about the girls, they eat too much.
Well, they didn't pay for the ice cream.
So what? The truck's getting away.
That's one of the things that I absolutely love about Hollywood. Usually whenever a production chooses to film in a certain place, especially if it is so far away from home, they tend to keep all of the filming locations in the same general vicinity. Killer Klowns from Outer Space, same exact thing. Well done, Kyoto Brothers. Well done. The next location that we're visiting is here in Santa Cruz at a place called the De La Viega Disc Golf Course. Now, if you don't know what disc golf is, basically it's golf, but played with frisbees. Now, a few of the scenes from Killer Klowns were filmed here. Not much, but it is very famous, and I didn't realize how famous it was until we got here and started talking to some of the players. In Killer Klowns, they talk about parking at Top of the World. Well, that is a real place here in Santa Cruz. And what you're looking at right now is a picture of the De La Viega logo, if you will. Now, if you look down here, it says hole number 27, which is going to be at the top of the hill that we're going to walk to. And right here, back in the 80s, it was called, well, it was the infamous hole number 3. Now, it is hole number 27. And check it out. Top of the World. Talk about some Killer Clown sleuthing, right?
You two were up at Top of the World together?
Yeah.
Doing research and trying to find the filming locations to this movie, I really wanted to find where they filmed the Top of the World scenes. Also, later on in the film, there's a scene where Mike and the cop, Dave, go back up to Top of the World, and they find that all the cars are now filled with cotton candy. And it's also where Dave finds the pair of glasses sitting on the seat of the Jeep. The exact location of those scenes was nowhere. All that I could find, it said here in Santa Cruz, De La Viega Disc Golf Course, infamous hole number 3, Top of the World. Had no clue what it meant until I got here and started talking to the players. I'm not gonna lie, Jessica and I know absolutely nothing about disc golf. But right about the center of your screen, you see that yellow capped fence, or the chain link hole? That is infamous hole number 3. Now it's infamous hole number 27, but this course is called Top of the World. And we're gonna try to walk up there, but at the top of the hill where you would start playing this hole, that's where they filmed the scenes in Killer Klowns from Outer Space. We made it to the top. Catching our breath, Jessica's over there sitting on the bench, but right now we're at the top of the world here in Santa Cruz, De La Viega disc golf course. Now it's hole number 27, but back when Killer Klowns was filming, this was hole number 3. All right, this is cool. Honestly, I was a little worried that upon climbing up here, we'd see that there was absolutely no way that they could bring cars up here, let alone film the scenes for Killer Klowns from Outer Space. But yeah, they definitely could have gotten cars up here. Everybody was making out all the different cars that were parked here. Mike and Debbie laying in that weird yellow inner tube in the back of his car. Laying here, and then they see the spaceship going across the sky. This is where it all started. A lot has definitely changed, Baby Goal, over the years. It doesn't look like you can get cars up here anymore, but at least we can get up here. What a climb, right?
That was really hard.
I wouldn't do it again.
No.
That was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Coming back down the hill from Top of the World, I can't get the Killer Klowns song out of my head. This is amazing. When it comes to filming locations, usually things change quite a bit. Sometimes the buildings are torn down, sometimes they're not. This one here looks identical to whenever they were filming Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This was the Crescent Cove police station. Even the tree that was out front of the police station in Killer Klowns is still here. It's identical. The only real difference that I see is in the movie, right here where it says Parks and Community Service Department. This is where the Crescent Cove sign would have been for the police station. It's inside this building, the Crescent Cove police station, where Officer Mooney gives the best line in the entire movie.
Killer Klowns from outer space. Holy shit.
Well, to be fair, some things have changed. The steps leading up to the police station, which is actually the Parks and Recreation Department, used to be right here. Now there's flowers and they moved the steps over this way. Now what's really neat is there's a scene where right over here there was I guess like a newspaper dispenser that Mike and Debbie crash into. Inside, everything has changed. It does not look anything like the Crescent Cove police station. Well, I take that back. You see those 2 doors over there? If you look closely, you can see those in the movie. Also, if you look at the wall from a different angle, the door that is directly below the clock and that picture that's on the wall of the street, that's where here in the police station they had the different wanted posters. Officer Mooney would have sat with his back against that wall. That's pretty wild. Talking to the workers on the inside, they did confirm that this was an active police station whenever they were here filming Killer Klowns from Outer Space. So even though in the movie it said Crescent Cove Police, it really was Watsonville Police. I asked them if behind the scenes where I couldn't go, if there were still jail cell, the bars. And they said not now, but over the years it has changed hands. Now obviously it's a Parks and Recreation, and the police department is across the parking lot. So they're long gone. But how cool is it to line up right where Officer Moody was sitting? That's cool. That's really cool. straight ahead of us, we're walking to the Gazebo, which is probably one of my favorite scenes from the movie Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the puppet show scene. It's phenomenal. I honestly thought that this park would have been a lot bigger. It's really not. But I'll say this for sure, the Gazebo itself is a lot bigger than I pictured. That thing is massive. Look how awesome that is. That's definitely creepy. What is that?
It's a piece of bread
Somebody put a piece of bread?
in the statue's mouth.
Oh, that's crazy. I guess he was hungry. Well, there goes that idea. Our plan was to get here and go up to the top of the gazebo and get some photos. But they have it locked up. You can't even get up there anymore. Just a sign that says, keep out. Still pretty awesome. This thing is massive. Let's go up there and take a look, see what this place looks like now. Yeah, keep out, no smoking, violators will be fined. But this is the Killer Klowns from Outer Space Gazebo, as it stands today, 2021. Because this is a nighttime scene, at first glance it seems like it would be a little difficult to line up shots of what angle they decided to shoot the puppet show scene from. I'm about to give up, and then I noticed that behind the guy who's watching the show is a railing. And it makes sense because there's a railing here. Now what's really cool about this is the railing leading up to the gazebo. It's very peculiar. It has a curve to it that you really don't see. Usually whenever you see railings, it's like a sharp corner, right? So with that being said, if we come up here, right about here on the other side is where he would have been standing. And directly across from him, over in that area, we get a little closer. Over in that area, directly in the center of your screen, is where the puppet show would have been set up. And eventually, he gets turned into cotton candy, and I'm standing right where the cotton candy would have been. I know, it's just an old gazebo in a town in the middle of California, pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. But to a Killer Klowns from Outer Space fan, this is gold. Baby Goal, I know that Killer Klowns from Outer Space is not everybody's cup of tea. It's a cult classic, but I really wish that they had some sort of plaque here for this. Because not only is this a historically looking old-timey gazebo in the middle of Watsonville, but that was such an amazing scene. The plaque doesn't say Killer Klowns from Outer Space, but there is a plaque here dedicated to the memory of Don Sebastian Rodriguez. Pretty cool. Still needs to be one for Killer Klowns from Outer Space. For this scene, we find ourselves back in Santa Cruz. This time, Mike, Debbie, and Dave are in the police cruiser, and they drop Debbie off here. This would have been Debbie's house. About this shot right here. Do you see that car parked right in front of that tree to the left-hand side of the screen? Right about there is where Dave would have parked the cruiser, and Mike walks Debbie up those steps to the front door. This is pretty cool. Right up there on that front porch is where Mike and Debbie would have had their little moment. And the whole time, Debbie's ex was sitting right down here in the cruiser watching them from the police car. One of the most memorable scenes from Killer Klowns is whenever Debbie was taking the shower, and there's all those little pieces of popcorn that started coming to life and crawling across the floor. Now, if you watch the special features of Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the Kyoto brothers jokingly say that Debbie's shower scene is the longest shower in movie history. It's something like 10 or 15 minutes of screen time, technically, well, how it spans. You actually see Debbie's house a couple times in the movie. There's another one where you can see it almost the same exact shot as before, but this time there's a whole bunch of streamers and balloons and what have you not after the clowns take over the town. Oh my, well, this has changed a lot. Right now I'm standing on the 100 block of Cooper Street in Santa Cruz. This street right here, if I keep panning the camera this way to right about here, this is where the Killer Klowns had, well, I guess you'd call it a parade.
Comedy.
In the movie, one of the Killer Klowns throws a cotton candy pod out of that window right there down to one of his fellow clowns down here on the street below. This street has changed so much over the years, it's practically impossible to line up any other shots other than the one where the clown is throwing the cotton candy pod out the window. But right about where we are parked, which is here in the center of your screen, there was a car parked there, and a guy was hiding underneath the back of the car waiting for the coast to be clear. When he thought it was, he bolts, and it's right about in this area where the clown turns around and gets him with the gun, and he turns into a cotton candy pod himself, and he falls to the ground.
Comedy.
With that being said, thank you for joining us on another adventure, this time from Crescent Cove, the filming locations to the Kyoto brothers, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And until next time, as always, happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck just comes my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.